Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am your host, Jake Lewis, and once again I am riding this armoured seahorse solo without my regular co-host, Mark Hoffmeyer, who is on paternity leave from podcasting. And today we are continuing our Deep Blue Sea adjacent trend of looking at films I'm less familiar with that are in some way connected to Deep Blue Sea, and today's connection is it happens in the water. Because today we're talking about Aquaman, a film I have seen before, but not very well. We'll get into that. So what is Aquaman? Well, it's that age-old story of when a lighthouse keeper and the Queen of Atlantis fall in love, have a child who is heir to the throne of Atlantis. His half-brother, Orm, wants to fight a war with mankind. So Aquaman, Arthur, the half lighthouse keeper, half Atlantean, has to get a mythic trident and defeat his brother to reclaim his title as King of Atlantis. It's that age-old tale told once again. It's from 2018, directed by James Wan, starring Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Nicole Kidman, Dolph Lundgren, a whole bunch of people. Loads of people in this film. And so I need an expert with this. I need someone who knows his superhero movies, and I've traded out one recent father with another. Joining us from It's Time to Rewind is Bubbleweed. Bubbleweed, welcome to the show.
My man. Even though I don't think he actually says that line in this movie at all.
He doesn't. I was listening to another podcast that came out when Aquaman was released, and they were like picked up. He's gonna say it like a dozen times in this. It's the thing everyone loved from that terrible Justice League film. He never says it at all. Not even like hey, my man, can you get me that fish? It's not nothing at all. Great. Well, you're joining us from It's Time to Rewind, which is the show that you do. You're looking at time loop films, one loop at a time. I was on for your first season for Groundhog Day. It's a fantastic podcast. You should listen to it. I broke the podcast, as I tend to do. So, I was wondering, opening question, would Aquaman act differently in this film if he was stuck in a time loop? If he was like reliving or any of the characters? Who do you think would benefit from being stuck in a time loop in this film? Going through the course of it.
Question. I almost feel like, Tom the lighthouse keeper is stuck in his own time loop.
He does feel like it, doesn't he?
Yeah, going out to the end of the dock every single day, waiting for his wife to return.
And it almost feels like he's been living the same day, and during that time, the main thing he's worked on is drinking quickly. He's like, he can drink his water-breathing son under the table. Because that's every day. He's downing pint after pint after pint. Or I think the glasses seem even bigger than pints. They're huge. And yes, he's stuck in that loop of just waiting for Atlanta every day. And he's got a lot of sage advice. If he's seen all this before, he'll see it again. It doesn't really matter what happens. It's all good. I think Tom is stuck in Tom Curry. Great name, Tom Curry. No relation to Tim Curry. Is stuck in some kind of loop. Good. So, I mentioned in the opening that I have seen. I went to the cinema to see Aquaman. Aquaman made a huge amount of money at the box office. It was a time where I had sworn off of the DC EU films because I'd seen the Suicide Squad. Oh, sorry, no, it's the first one. It's just Suicide Squad, and that is one of the worst films I've ever seen. And so I was like, I'm done with DC. That's it. I'm out. At that point, I hadn't really enjoyed any of them. I think Wonder Woman was maybe the best one.
As were a lot of people at that time.
I think Wonder Woman was easily the best, but even then, I thought it was fine. It was like, good for a lot of it, terrible ending. That was my thoughts on Wonder Woman. And I was like, I'm done with this. Then Aquaman came out, people went to see it, raving about it, said it was great. I reluctantly went, saw about 2/3 of it, and then just fell asleep. Just missed the whole climactic battle. Just peace out, I'm done. Wake up at the credits. I remember waking up for the mid-credits sequence and didn't feel the need to go back to watch it again. But I watched it again this weekend. I thought you're the best person to bring in. So what's your history with Aquaman? What are your thoughts on it, Bella?
I think it's funny. I'll go ahead and bring this up now because whenever you say that you only watched 2/3 of it the first time you watched it, I almost didn't watch the right movie this time. I think I'll have to rack it up to, newborn father brain, where I also agreed to do a Marvel Movie Minute. They're doing Thor, and I'm recording that mid-November. and somehow the lines got crossed. Like I agreed to do this for today, to record it today, and so I looked up on the my local library app to put the movie on hold, and I put the movie Thor on hold, and I didn't think about it. And then yesterday came, and then I checked to see if it was, coming to the library because they didn't have a copy at the library. It was being sent from another library. And I looked at it and I saw that it hadn't left the original library yet. So I was like, I'm just going to cancel this. And then I was like, wait a minute, Thor, that's a Marvel movie. That's on Disney Plus. I have Disney Plus right now. So I went and I looked it up on Disney Plus. And it's like, okay, I'll watch this today. And then as I was looking at that screen, it kind of slowly dawned on me. It's like, wait a
Wait a
minute.
minute.
This doesn't have anything to do with sharks.
Yeah, I
I'm
think that
supposed
is.
to be watching Aquaman.
Yeah, there is nothing. The only there is some deep blue sea adjacency in Thor, which is Stellan Skarsgård. But that's about as much as I can go. I think. I don't think Sam Jackson's in that one.
But luckily, they already had a couple copies of Aquaman at my library, so I didn't have to put it on hold. I just went there, picked it up, watched it last night.
Well,
Everything was golden.
for me, it's on Netflix. But there are Aquaman and Thor. There are some parallels. Like not just a muscular guy with long hair, but like he's got to retrieve his family heirloom mythic weapon to prove his worth. He's fighting with his half brother, step brother, whatever Loki was, adopted brother. End of list of parallels potentially.
They both want to be king of their respective kingdoms.
Yes, yeah, and I feel like they're both kind of similar characters. They're both kind of
Like drinking.
they both like drinking. Yes, bring me another.
They're both arrogant.
They both seem to be bulletproof on Earth. Yeah, there we go. It's the same film. Next week we're covering Thor. We're not. No, I'm done with the first Thor. Thor 3, yes. Thor 1 and 2. Meh.
Yeah, but this one, I'm generally more positive on the DCEU movies than other ones. I imagine part of that is because of my background as someone who loves superhero movies, good, bad, and otherwise, just inherently. So unless it's just completely boring to me, I think I give it a lot more of a chance than other people.
I think saying that
And
you love superhero movies is maybe an understatement, given that you have dedicated, I don't know, a decade of your life to them at this point.
yeah, coming up this December will be 10 years for the site.
Where, yeah, on Flights, Tights, Movie Nights, where you've reviewed pretty much every superhero film ever made.
Yeah, at least everyone that anybody's heard of, except for some of the ones that have come out in the past year or so, because I'm falling a bit behind on recent releases.
You've even reviewed one of my favourite lesser known ones, Super Bob.
Yes,
with Brett Goldstein of Ted Lasso.
I actually did quite enjoy that one. It's, the extremely low budget, like comedies where the majority of the film deals with a superhero's regular life without them superheroing tend to be hit
He
and
has
miss.
superheroing, I think.
But that one was one of the better ones, and I did really enjoy that one.
Yeah, when I started watching Ted Lasso, and like Brett Goldstein is one of the main people in there, he just won an Emmy for it. I was like, oh, it's Super Bob! And I doubt anybody else had that reaction to watching Ted Lasso. I like being unique. So, Aquaman, let's get into Aquaman, shall we? It's
Pretty, the tangents are flowing,
it's what podcasting is all about.
of course.
So this is easily, certainly at the time, the most fun DCEU film. With it doesn't take itself too seriously. The world of Atlantis was introduced in Justice League briefly, with like that air bubble between Momoa and Amber Heard, and I do appreciate that they just got rid of that. It's like, it's Aquaman, he can talk underwater. That's just fine. We'll put like a warble to the background of it, and then it's just keep going. Let's not waste time on this air bubbles
Yeah, they
everywhere.
just added the wrinkle that only the noble-born can breathe outside of water.
Yeah, which I like. That's well, I like that it allowed for those kind of stormtrooper suits full of water, which when those guys are fighting Amber Heard, Mira, her main goal is crack the suit open. Because that's what if you're fighting somebody in space, you can try and get the suit open, and then they'll suffocate.
Although I thought it was kind of weird that, whenever there was a couple times whenever she like chopped off their limbs, and it made it look like they were completely made out of water.
Well, it would make sense that water would be gushing out from the torn suit, but yes, there didn't seem to be a lot of blood in there. just water pouring out. That was nice. So yeah, I appreciated how much fun they had with like, we're going to the world of Atlantis. Let's make everything like bioluminescence, lit by jellyfish. There's giant coconut crabs and sharks and seahorses wearing armor. And
Yeah, let me ask you something, because this is something that I noticed whenever I was watching this, that it had a lot of Star Wars Episode 1 vibes with them
yes,
going into the Gungan city.
100%.
Except I feel like this one, I mean, aside from just the fact that it was made 20 years later, almost, I felt like they did it a lot better. Like it looks a lot better. And why, do you agree with that?
I do, but then, as you say, we are adding 20 years worth of special effects development onto that.
But do you think there's any other like elements like any other decisions that they made that made that look better versus the Gungan city?
Well, I think I can't.
Because I do have a couple ideas.
It has been a while since I've watched The Phantom Menace, but I think I think pretty much everything in Aquaman is CGI. If it's in Atlantis, other than like the human faces, it's all CGI. Whereas I think some elements of The Phantom Menace might have been practical, which normally would make things better. Again, I'm scouring my memory banks for what the underwater Gungan world looked like, and it didn't spend a lot of time down there, if I recall. It's mainly the chase out of it, which there is another chase out of this, and I was expecting a giant fish, and then a bigger fish, and then a bigger fish, and I was a little disappointed we didn't get that this time around. But what are your thoughts? Why do you think that this one looks so much better?
I think that there's a couple things. I think one is that they do have the the real world fish, aquatic life in there, which helps ground it a bit better, giving you something recognizable other than having like alien fish, which are clearly fake and clearly CGI. And also, I think it helps, especially whenever they go down to the bottom of the city, you get these mossy ruins,
Yes.
which they don't look 100% perfect. They look dirty, they look old. And I think those two things help give it a sense of realism, where in the Gungan city, everything is 100% shiny, new. The bubbles, it's all super shiny and fake looking.
Yeah, I've just pulled up some images of Gungan City, and you are absolutely right. That is, the main problem with the Phantom Menace was everything looked too shiny and clean, and Gungan was no change. Whereas, yeah, you got these big columns with all the coral and the things falling apart, and the little real world fish eating things off of the coral. I think that is a very good point, and definitely part of it. It does look really good. I hadn't paid much attention to the background. I was watching it. There's a lot of exposition in this film, so I was trying to keep track of all of that instead. But now, just pay attention to the background. It's great.
I think one thing that getting into the movies by minutes community has completely changed my movie watching is I find myself, not during the entire movie runtime, but I think especially in like slower bits and like establishing shots, I'm much more looking for details, like looking in the background and finding things that other people wouldn't necessarily notice if you're just kind of blindly, watching it.